You were born in 12th century England, which basically means you've already lost the game of life before you even know how to hold your head up. Your parents? Peasants. Dirt poor. Proud owners of absolutely nothing, except a leaking roof and a few chickens that look just as depressed as you're about to become. From the second you gulp your first breath of smoky village air, your destiny is set in stone. Work until you break. Eat whatever hasn't spoiled yet, and pray you don't catch something that ends in pox. Your daily menu? Bread, if you're lucky, maybe some wilted vegetables, a slice of salted fish on holidays if the universe is feeling particularly generous. Meat? Please. That's reserved for the people who actually matter. As for your future, it's one long, gray road paved with calloused hands, aching bones, and the faint hope that maybe, just maybe, you'll die slightly less miserable than your parents did. No wealth, no legacy, no song sung about your greatness. Just another faceless soul in a world that wouldn't notice if you vanished tomorrow. And just when you're getting cozy with the idea of eternal, inescapable mediocrity, your father drops a bombshell. He knows a way out, a sliver of a chance, a gamble so desperate that only someone who's seen how bad it gets would dare roll the dice. Because sure, breaking your back in a noble's field sucks. But chasing a dream? That can hurt even worse. At the ripe old age of 8, because nothing screams ready for adult life like being barely tall enough to reach a doorknob, your parents ship you off to the city. Not because they don't love you, not because they're tired of feeding you, but because your father, after a lifetime of shoveling manure for nobles who didn't even know his name, heard about a man, a blacksmith, a craftsman so skilled he lived like a king among peasants. And your father, he actually knew him. Not well enough to ask for a favor, but just enough to offer up his own son as tribute. This, right here, is the plan. The one shot, the only thin, flickering chance you'll ever get to claw your way out of a life of mud and misery. So, with nothing but a threadbare sack and a head full of desperate hope, you're sent into the belly of the beast. The city hits you like a fist to the gut. It's filthy, overcrowded, and smells like someone set a barn on fire and then tried to put it out with sewage. You don't even have time to catch your breath before you're shoved through the doors of the blacksmith's forge, the place where your better life is supposed to start. And immediately, you realize this is hell. The forge is a screaming, sweating, hammer-swinging madhouse. The air is thick with smoke, and the heat slams into you like a brick wall. Kids your size sprint past carrying molten metal like it's just another Tuesday. The master blacksmith gives you one look. Thin arms, wide eyes, change your clothes, get to work. No inspiring speech, no welcome to your future. Just a stack of filthy rags and a schedule that would make a grown man cry. Congratulations, you're an apprentice now, which is medieval code for human tool. Your new responsibilities? Haul buckets of water so heavy your knees pop like old wagon wheels. Shovel endless mountains of coal until your spine feels like it's about to snap. Pump the bellows until your arms shake harder than a leaf in a hurricane. And if you screw up, if you so much as drop a hammer or let the fire flicker for a half a second, punishment is immediate. Extra hours, no food, public humiliation. Sometimes all three, if the master's feeling generous. Because out there, waiting and watching, is a line of desperate kids who would kill to take your place. No second chances, no sympathy, just sharpened knives and hungrier eyes. Meanwhile, you're trapped in a daily war against John, Michael, and Robert. John, the schemer, son of a famous weaponsmith, here to outshine his old man. Michael, the prodigy, could outwork 3 apprentices with one hand tied behind his back. Robert, the suck-up, his uncle's on the city council, and he never lets anyone forget it. They're not your friends. They're not your teammates. They're the wolves you'll have to outrun if you want to survive the forge at all. Years crawl by, each one pounding a little more strength and a little more fear into your body. But somehow, you survive. You survive the cracked knees, the split open hands, the hammer blows that glance off your wrist instead of the anvil. You survive John's scheming, Michael's effortless dominance, and Robert's smug reminders that your bloodline couldn't buy a loaf of bread. And finally, after burned fingers and sleepless nights, you stop being just another clumsy pair of hands. You become something more dangerous. You start making real tools, horseshoes that hold firm through a cavalry charge, nails that don't split the timber when driven home, swords sharp enough to whisper death with a single swing. The first time your master picks up one of your finished pieces, turns it over in his hands, and grunts something that isn't total disgust, you realize you're not a burden anymore. You're an asset. You're still an apprentice, still disposable, but now you're good enough to matter. And when you finally reach your graduation day, around the age of 15, you're offered something you spent half your life dreaming about, a future. The master calls you over, his face carved out of stone. No smile, no ceremony, just two choices thrown at your feet like a battered coin flip. Option 1, stay, work for him, earn steady wages, live under his roof with a guarantee of food, shelter, and just enough coin to survive the winter. A life of hard labor, sure, but a safe one. Predictable, comfortable, survivable. Option 2, become a journeyman, step into the wild, travel from city to city, town to town, begging for work in places where a stranger is just another problem to ignore or rob. No guarantees, no protection, no second chances. If you make it, you carve your own legend. If you fail, you die cold, hungry, and invisible. You hesitate. Of course you hesitate. After all, security sounds a lot sweeter when you know exactly how hard the world outside can punch. But then your master tosses in one final shard of hope. If you leave and survive, there might be a place for you here again someday. Might. Not will. Not promise. Just a sliver of possibility, barely enough to catch the light. And because you're young and stubborn and so damn sick of taking orders, you take the gamble. You choose the unknown. You become a journeyman. And you step out into the world for the first time, alone. You had a job. You turned it down. Security, food, a roof over your head, all tossed aside because you wanted more. Was it a mistake? Maybe, maybe not. You're about to find out. The first few days on your own are a special kind of misery. No forge, no tools, no real plan. Just a satchel slung over your shoulder and a growing pit of hunger gnawing at your ribs. You walk for days, town to town, village to village, asking for work at every forge you find. Most times, you don't even get a no. You get ignored, like you're not even there. And when you're not invisible, you're worse, suspicious. A strange face means trouble, means stealing, means something the blacksmiths don't have time to deal with. By the second week, you're sharpening knives for street vendors just to earn a scrap of bread. By the third, you're sleeping in barns and stables when the farmers aren't looking. By the fourth, you're genuinely considering selling your hammer for a bowl of stew. This is the glamorous life you fought for. This is freedom. And it's slowly killing you. But just when the hunger gets loud enough to drown out your pride, you catch a break. A farmer's hoe snaps in half during planting season. You repair it with a borrowed hammer and half a fire pit, forging the cracked iron back together with hands that haven't held proper tools in weeks. The farmer's impressed. He doesn't pay you much, barely enough to buy a loaf of bread. But he tells his neighbor, who tells another. And suddenly, the long chain of silence breaks. First a hoe, then a plow, then horseshoes for a traveling merchant. Each job earns you a few more coins, a few more scraps of food, a few more nights sleeping under a roof instead of under the stars. It's not much. It's survival, but it's yours. Every calloused finger, every aching step, every forged piece of iron, it all belongs to you now. You are no one's apprentice. You are a blacksmith, a real one, not in title, not on paper, but in the only way that matters. You can survive on your own work. Coin by coin, you start saving. Work by work, you start building a name. You invest in better tools, better materials, better skills. You don't just fix broken things anymore. You make them. New axes, new horseshoes, new knives so sharp they could split a hair. You travel to bigger towns, learning advanced techniques from any blacksmith willing to trade knowledge for an extra pair of hands. Every mile you walk, every blister you earn, every deal you shake, you are becoming something more, something dangerous. By the time you return to the city, you're not the scared, scrawny kid who stumbled out of the forge years ago. You're a weapon, and you're finally ready to be noticed. The city doesn't recognize you at first. You've changed. Not just older, not just stronger, honed, tempered, like a blade that's been hammered until the impurities burned away. You take on jobs, bigger ones, more important ones, and word spreads faster than wildfire. You're not just the blacksmith's apprentice anymore. You're the blacksmith. The guy who reforged a knight's sword on the road when every other smith said it was hopeless. The guy who can shoe a war horse so well it runs like it's floating on air. Nobles start to take notice, mercenaries, even army generals. At first, it's everything you dreamed about. Coin pours in like rain, the kind of coin that buys respect, that buys comfort. You rent a real workshop, you sleep on a real bed, you eat real food, meat, whenever you damn well feel like it. You stop surviving, you start living. And then reality slams its foot on your throat. Because when you're that good, you stop being a craftsman. You become a resource. And resources get claimed. You hear whispers before you see it. Certain nobles aren't just impressed with your work, they're interested in owning it, owning you. One day, a letter arrives. An offer, polite on the surface, threatening underneath. A powerful lord wants you as his personal blacksmith. No negotiations, no counteroffers. You belong to him now. And if you don't like it, there are always ways to convince a man to become more cooperative. Kidnapping, threats, slavery, take your pick. You disappear before the sun even sets. Forge cold, tools abandoned. For a month, you live like a rat, moving from barn to barn, alley to alley, praying you don't see a bannered guard riding through the streets. If they find you, it's over. You won't be a master anymore. You'll be a prisoner with a hammer. But fate, for once, flinches first. The civil war boiling in the kingdom finally erupts. The lords who wanted you dead or caged have bigger things to worry about, like not getting their heads chopped off. You survive by sheer luck, by sheer stubbornness. You survive. And when the dust settles, you rise. By 22, you're no longer some desperate kid hauling buckets for scraps. You're a master blacksmith, not just by title, but by reputation. Lords compete for your services. Knights travel across kingdoms to commission your blades. And this time, you choose who you work for. You choose where you plant your forge. You build your own workshop, your own house, your own name. You are everything your father dreamed you could become, and far more than he ever dared to imagine. But success isn't the paradise you pictured, not even close. The orders never stop. Weapons for armies, armor for battalions, tools for whole regions. The forge roars from dawn to dusk, the fire's never dying, the anvil never cooling. You hire apprentices of your own, kids who look at you the way you once looked at your master. No matter how many hands you bring in, no matter how many hours you pour into the work, it's never enough. It's never enough. Because every sword you forge turns into 10 more orders. Every set of armor you finish leads to 3 more contracts. Every favor you grant turns into another leash around your neck. The forge becomes your world again, a prison built not by poverty, but by success. And slowly, quietly, without anyone noticing, it starts to kill you. You don't notice it at first. Not the way your hands tremble when you grip the hammer. Not the way your back locks up halfway through a shift. Not the way you cough a little harder every time the forge smoke curls around your face. You're too busy too important. There are weapons to forge, deals to honor, names to make. You ignore the pain, you ignore the cracks. Because that's what survivors do. Until one day, you can't. The coughing doesn't stop anymore. Your joints scream with every movement. You wake up feeling like your own body is trying to bury itself. You see a doctor, a real one, not the old woman who treats sword wounds with moonshine and prayers. He looks at you, listens to your lungs, checks the calluses on your hands, the paleness of your skin, and then he tells you the truth. Lead poisoning. A lifetime spent inhaling toxic fumes, handling raw materials, working 15-hour days in a forge without rest. There's no cure, no treatment, no miracle. You're dying, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Most blacksmiths don't live past 50. You're 47. You built a forge that fueled armies. You raised apprentices who now run their own shops. You helped find a guild that protects the very kids who used to sleep in the soot, dreaming of something better. You changed the city. You changed the world. And no one outside those walls will ever know your name. No songs, no statues, no legends whispered around campfires. Just the quiet legacy of iron and smoke and broken hands. You accept it. Because the truth is, you never swung a hammer for glory. You did it to survive. You did it to escape. You did it to prove, if only to yourself, that you could be more than the world expected. And you were. The day you die, the forge is still burning. Apprentices still hammering steel into swords. Journeymen still shaping iron into armor. Customers still lined up, clutching coin, desperate for the work your hands once performed. The world doesn't stop. It barely even slows down. But somewhere, deep in the roar of fire and steel, your story lives on. Not in songs, not in stories, but in every blade that refuses to break, in every nail that holds a house together, in every apprentice who dares to believe that maybe, just maybe, they can be more. You were never just a blacksmith. You were the fire that shaped an empire. And even as your body fades into ash and dust, the forge never dies.
You were born in 18th century China, the Qing dynasty to be exact. Your village is nameless to most. A scattering of mud homes and millet fields where famine comes often and gods stay silent. Your father is a farmer, when the land allows it. Your mother sells herbs she picks near the graves. There are too many mouths, not enough bowls. You don't remember the deal. You were too young. 4, maybe 5. What you do remember, the hunger that made your mother chew rice and spit it into your mouth like a bird. The winter your baby sister froze in her sleep. The way your father looked at you. Not cruelly, just calculating. Before long, you're sold to lessen the number of mouths to feed. Your father says it's for your own good. Your mother doesn't say anything. She just looks at the floor like it might split open and swallow her. The man who takes you is smiling, not kindly. He counts the coins, hands them to your father, and then lifts you like luggage. You scream, for a second, then stop. It doesn't help. No one is coming to help. The road is long. You're not the only one. There are others in the cart. Dirty, hungry, silent. Some cry at first. They stop too. Some are stolen. Some are sold. Some are both. All of you are going to Beijing, to the houses with red lanterns and barred windows, to become Tang Ming U, or escorts. You don't know the word yet, but soon it will be the only one that matters. In the beginning, they treat you like something valuable. You are washed, fed, brushed, inspected, like a dog at a fair. One boy coughs too much. They toss him in a ditch. You don't ask questions. They rename you something soft and pretty like unwanted flower, because flower means more than petals here. It means you're someone's fantasy now. You were 5, so you know how to sit still, how to say thank you. And now you're going to learn to obey. Because soon, you'll learn what your body is for. And you'll have to learn fast, or you won't live long enough to be sold again. Your training begins the day Madam decides you're ready. She is the manager of the brothel, the big boss. Nice to all the new kids, since she gives you all sweet buns. But that all changes when you turn 6, maybe 7. After all, no one cared about your birthday since you became property. They start with the body. Hip massages, daily, to widen your figure. Hair removed with string and oil. Every inch of your skin stings for days. They make you walk a certain way. Hips loose, arms soft, head tilted just so. You're corrected with slaps. You're praised with sweets and warm water. You prefer the slaps. They make more sense. Every week they insert something new in you. Ivory, polished wood, carved stone. They call them training rods. You learn to breathe through the pain. Eventually, you learn to pretend to enjoy it. They bind your feet to keep them from growing larger. Small feet are beautiful, they say. You don't argue. Arguing makes them angry, and the cane hurts more when they're angry. By 8, you're doing shows. Not public ones. Not yet. Private demonstrations behind curtains. You bend, twist, pose, present. They make you act like you want it. If you don't smile, they beat your thighs with switches.
Nope.
No bruises. Bruises lower your price. They give you concoctions to make your voice rise, diets to make your muscles fade. Your boyhood recedes into a mask painted with powder and perfume. The customers come to watch. Men with rings, calloused hands, and hungry eyes. They pick favorites. You pray it's not you. But it is. Eventually, it always is. They rename you again. Curious Needy Flower. A promotion. One that you definitely won't like. You don't sleep well. You start biting your lips raw to keep from crying at night. You dream of fire and waking up somewhere else. Anywhere else. But every day, you wake up here. Still soft. Still owned. Still learning how to live with pain. Few months pass. Congratulations. You are due for another promotion. They said you were ready. You weren't. You're 9. They bring you to the private room. The screen hides nothing. The man is old. Smiling. Smiling too much. He smells like wine and sandalwood and rot. Your trainer nods once, then leaves. You're alone. You remember what they told you. Don't flinch. Don't cry. Make it sweet. He calls you Little Lotus. You don't respond. He doesn't mind. He tells you to kneel. You do. He touches your face like he's picking fruit. Then he slaps you. Hard. Not out of anger. Out of ritual. He tells you to turn around. You obey. Your knees sink into silk cushions. After it's over, you lie curled in the bed, shaking and leaking. You're in pain. More pain than you were ever in while they prepared you. Worse pain, because this time it was real. He leaves a coin and a compliment. Very soft, very good. You don't move for hours. You don't speak for days. The madam says, "You're a professional now." She smiles like it's a promotion. They feed you a sweet bun. You vomit it up that night. They burn incense to cover the smell, but it clings to you. The blood, the musk, the shame. It soaks into your skin. You're different now. Everyone sees it. You carry yourself lower. Your eyes don't blink as much. Some of the younger boys ask if it hurts. You tell them no. You lie. Because soon it will be their turn. And you don't see why you should cause them fear now. After all, what could they do about it? What could any of you do about it? Over the next few years, you become a favorite. Not because you're the prettiest, not because you smile, but because you don't. They say you have discipline. What they mean is, you've stopped fighting. Your body knows the routine, the oils, the positions, the ways to twist and arch and flutter like it's your idea. You've become profitable. The older boys hate you. The younger ones stare like you're a statue. Beautiful, untouchable, terrifying. They put you on display. Clients pay extra just to watch you prepare. Painting your lips, brushing your hair, sliding into gauze that hides nothing. You don't talk much. You don't need to. Men beg for your attention. Some just want to look. Some want more. Some want to break you again. You learn to fake tears. They love that. You learn to fake laughter. They love that more. One client brings you a mirror. Look, he says, you're perfect. You stare at the glass. You don't recognize the thing staring back. You're 13 now. You're earning more than anyone in the house. You never touch the coins. The madam says you're investing in your future. You think she means a nicer grave. They start prepping you for promotion, castration, the final cut. Only the best get it, the madam purrs. You'll never age, never bleed, never be replaced. You nod. But inside, something folds in half and doesn't unfold again. You've stopped asking questions like, what am I? What will I become? You already know the answer. A product, a petal, a perfect thing. They wake you at dawn, not with shouts. This isn't punishment. This is promotion. A bath first. Always a bath. Rose water, crushed pearl, oils thick enough to drown in. You are not a boy. You are velvet plum. You must smell like flour before they slice you. No one tells you what will happen. But you know. The ones who come back, the castrated, are never the same. Their voices float like smoke. Their laughter never lands right. They blink too slowly, or never at all. You're led into the room barefoot. The floor is warm, as if it's been soaked in other people's fear. There are no windows, just a bench, a bowl, a blade. The man doesn't smile. He doesn't need to. You're told to drink a syrupy wine. It tastes like copper and sleep. Your limbs soften, your jaw locks. You can still feel everything. He hums while he works, and slices with precision. You can't even scream. Afterward, they bury you in hot sand up to your neck, to stop the bleeding, to stop the movement, to stop the thoughts. You hallucinate for 3 days. Your name is called, softly, like a prayer, or a curse. You rise. You don't walk the same. You don't think the same. You don't feel the same. The madam claps when you return. You'll last twice as long now, she beams. You bow, because what else can you do? You've been upgraded, refined, completely. No longer a boy, not yet a man. Something new, something marketable, something dead. 4 years pass. You turn 17. There's no cake, no celebration.
Nope.
Just a quieter hallway and colder looks. Your price has dropped. Your skin is loosened. Your beauty, once the brothel's pride, is now an overhead expense. They stop dressing you in silk. Perfume gets rationed. Clients don't ask for you anymore.
Nope.
They ask for someone younger, You still smile when they enter, still dance to their whip, but the sparkle in your movements is just muscle memory. The rest of you is gone. One night, the madam doesn't call for you at all. Then another, and another. You're summoned, but not for a client. She doesn't look at you when she speaks. You've had a good run. That's it. No severance, no farewell. They give you one robe, one coin, no shoes. They unlock the back door and gesture toward the alley. Don't come back. You hesitate, not because you want to stay, but because you don't know what exists beyond this place. You've never touched a tool, never cooked a meal, never been outside after sunset alone. You step into the cold. Your robe is thin. Your legs are shaky. No one notices you on the street. You're just another shadow limping past the firelight. A week later, you're begging near the gates. You see one of your old clients. He laughs, tosses a copper, misses on purpose. You pick it up anyway. You sleep in doorways, drink melted ice. Your body begins to rot from the inside out. The pain is back, but now it doesn't buy anyone pleasure. You're not Velvet Plum anymore. You're just another cough in the wind, another used object thrown away. They find your body days later, curled under a staircase behind a bathhouse, half covered in snow. No one claims it. Your skin is gray, your fingers black with frost, your eyes half open, still looking for someone to recognize you. But no one does. You're carted away in a pile with a drunk and a thief, buried in a trench behind the city wall. No marker, no prayer, not even a number. The brothel doesn't mention you again. Your name is handed to the next boy. Velvet Plum, they whisper to him, as if it was a role in a play, as if you never existed. You were never counted in the census, never written in the temple rolls. You left behind no family, no children, no legacy. Only the faintest dent in the mattress you slept on. You're born in Rome, 126 AD. And congratulations! You've just entered the world as property. Your mother is a wet nurse, which means she's valuable enough to keep alive and fed, but not valuable enough to keep her own children. You're pulled from her breast within hours, so she can get back to work feeding someone else's baby. You spend your first years being raised by other slaves. Think of it as ancient Rome's version of communal childcare, except nobody's doing it by choice. By age 5, you're old enough to understand the household hierarchy. At the top are the domini, the master and mistress who own everything, including you. Below them are the freed slaves, then the skilled slaves, then the general laborers, and at a special tier all your own, the wet nurses and the girls being groomed to replace them. Lucky you. You're not educated like a scribe's child might be. Instead, you're constantly monitored. Every few weeks, an older slave woman checks your weight, your health, examines your chest for early signs of development. She asks if you've started bleeding yet. She makes notes on a wax tablet that gets reviewed by the household steward. The message is crystal clear. Your value depends entirely on your ability to get pregnant and produce milk. You hit puberty around 13, which means the real monitoring begins. Congratulations, you're now a walking milk factory in development. Your diet gets adjusted. More protein, more milk, fewer acidic foods. You're given lighter work duties and assigned a sleeping area closer to the other potential wet nurses, away from anyone who might distract you from your sacred calling of future lactation. This is when you meet Marcus, a field slave who gets rotated into household duties. You start talking during meals. After a few months, your master notices the attachment and decides it could serve his interests. They graciously allow you to contubernum, an informal slave marriage. Quick ceremony, iron rings, and a borrowed white tunic. How romantic. For a few months, you almost forget this arrangement exists purely for their benefit. Almost. The pregnancy happens naturally. Thank the gods for small mercies. Some wet nurse candidates get assigned breeding partners based purely on physical compatibility, or worse. But you get to conceive a child with someone you actually care about. You give birth after 9 months of knowing exactly how this will end. The baby is healthy, perfect, and yours for approximately 18 hours. Then she's taken to be raised by other slaves, while you're cleaning up and presented to the Cornelius family, whose newborn son needs a wet nurse. Upper-class Roman women rarely nursed their own children. It was considered undignified, and more importantly, it would delay their ability to conceive again and produce more heirs. So they outsourced motherhood to women like you. This is where you're supposed to feel honored. The Cornelius family is wealthy, connected, and influential. But you're not allowed to grieve for the daughter you'll probably never see again. You're not allowed to ask questions about her welfare. Your job is to transfer all that maternal energy to the Cornelius baby, to love him like your own child, while never forgetting that he's definitely not yours. The nursing routine becomes your entire existence. Your diet becomes even more controlled. No garlic, no onions, no wine that might affect milk flavor. Every aspect of your behavior gets monitored to keep you calm and productive. A full night's sleep becomes a luxury for the wealthy. You're up at 2 a.m. for feeding, then 3 a.m., then 6 a.m. You've learned to sleep in increments, snatching rest between the baby's demands. And Marcus, your husband, he's immediately transferred to field work. Wet nurses can't have husbands interfering with their milk production or emotional focus. Days turn to weeks. The distance between you and your little family grows with each passing day, each feeding, each sleepless night. Naturally, you develop genuine affection for the Cornelius child. How could you not? You spend more time with him than anyone else does, including his actual parents, who have other priorities. You feed him, soothe him, hold him when he sleeps. But you're constantly reminded that this bond is temporary and one-sided. You're not his mother. You're just his wet nurse. After 18 months, the child is weaned and you're reassigned. The first separation is devastating. Another child you've grown to love, gone forever. But by the second household, the Flavius family, you're learning to manage the attachment. By the third, you've developed what might be called professional distance. You still care for each child, but you've learned not to completely shatter when it's time to move on. The pattern repeats for over 20 years. You nurse children across different households, moving from family to family. Each assignment lasts 12 to 18 months. You learn to love efficiently and let go cleanly. It's a skill set nobody puts on their resume. But something unexpected begins to happen. The Cornelius boy never gets sick. He walks at 10 months, speaks in full sentences before his second birthday. Maybe it's the extra protein in your diet. Maybe it's the fact that, unlike most wet nurses, you're actually in good health. Or maybe the rich just love a good myth. Either way, word spreads. When the next child you nurse, from the Flavius family, shows the same freakishly early development, people start whispering. By your third assignment, Partitian families are competing for you. They offer extra payments to your owners, send gifts of fine food to support your milk quality, and try to outbid each other for your services. You're no longer just a wet nurse. You're the wet nurse, the one everyone wants. For the first time in your life, you have something resembling power. Not freedom, don't get ahead of yourself, but leverage. Your owners begin offering small tokens of appreciation, upgrading your quarters with plush bedding and modest comforts. You're still property, but you're valuable property, and everyone knows it. This continues for over 15 years. You're at the peak of your profession, moving between the most prestigious households in Rome. Senators' wives send personal requests. You have your pick of assignments, your own small retinue of servants to attend to your needs. Then around age 43, you notice the first signs. Your milk production starts to waver. Some days are fine. Others, you struggle to meet the child's needs. You try to hide it at first, adjusting your diet, drinking more fluids, anything to maintain the flow that's been your ticket to the good life. But biology doesn't negotiate. By 44, your milk production stops completely. You've just lost the only skill that made you valuable. And it's not like you have a 401k to fall back on. You're reassigned to household duties, scrubbing floors, emptying chamber pots, hauling firewood, washing linens. All the work you've been exempt from for 2 decades. The transition is brutal. For over 20 years, you were specialized labor with status and comfort. Now you're doing whatever nobody else wants to do. You move from your comfortable private room back to the general slave quarters, sleeping in a space you share with 6 other women. The food goes back to basic rations. The small luxuries disappear overnight. Your body, soft from years of good treatment, struggles with the physical demands. Your body aches constantly. Your hands crack and bleed. You realize just how grueling the traditional slave's life really was, and how much you'd forgotten during your years of relative privilege. The years crawl by. Your hair turns gray, then white. Your spine curves from decades of labor, first from nursing, then from scrubbing floors. At 62, you're ancient by slave standards. One winter morning, you're scrubbing the entry hall when a soft voice makes you freeze. A woman is asking about someone who might have worked here many years ago. You straighten up slowly, your old joints protesting. The woman standing before you has your eyes. She looks to be in her 30s, about the right age. She's well-dressed, confident, and free. Your heart pounds, but you don't dare let yourself hope. She explains that her mother was a wet nurse here, someone about your age now. Her eyes study your face with growing recognition. When she smiles nervously, you see Marcus in that expression. Your voice comes out as barely a whisper. What was her name? She doesn't know. She was taken from her mother when she was just hours old, but she's been searching for years. She earned her freedom, married well, and now has the means to find her mother, or to buy her freedom if she's still alive. You drop the scrub brush, your hands shaking. She's alive, you manage to say. She's right here. The reunion is everything and nothing you imagined. She helps you to your feet, holds you while you both cry, and within hours, she's negotiating your freedom with your master. The transaction takes 3 days. A small fortune to you, pocket change to her. For the first time in your life, you walk out of a Roman household as a free woman. Your daughter takes you to her home, a modest but comfortable house with a garden where you can sit in the sun. For 8 months, you live as a free woman with your family. You die peacefully in your sleep on a warm spring morning, your daughter holding your hand. It sucked to be a wet nurse slave in ancient Rome. But then again, it sucked to be any kind of slave in ancient Rome. But hey, at least you got 23 years of relative privilege, 8 months of true freedom, and a daughter who never forgot you existed. In the end, the most important bond of all found its way back to you. A far better ending than most Roman slaves ever get. You're born a girl in medieval Europe. Congratulations, you've already lost the lottery. Your mother dies bringing you into this world. Not exactly rare, since it happens to 1 in 3 women. You start life as both a burden and a living receipt for what it costs. Lucky you. Your father remarries within 3 months. After all, someone's got to cook the meals and keep the kids alive. Your days growing up are simple. Wake before dawn, help your stepmother cook breakfast, wash laundry, milk the goats, cook dinner, collapse into bed. Your brothers learn to ride horses and play with wooden swords, while you scrub floors. Your stepmother does teach you useful skills, though, mostly because she needs the help. Not reading or writing, that's for priests and noble boys. The village is poor, the doctor's expensive, and someone needs to patch up scraped knees and soothe coughs when the weather turns. So you help, first by fetching herbs, then by mixing tonics, and eventually by helping her tend to villagers when half of them fall sick with flu. She shows you which herbs stop bleeding, which ones clean wounds, which ones ease pain. Before long, the village starts calling on you for help with small injuries and seasonal fevers. Nothing official, just the kind of things no one wants to bother a real doctor with. By 14, your childhood ends abruptly. No more helping your stepmother in the garden and playing doctor. Your father has betrothed you to a man twice your age, who owns 20 acres of land and smells like cattle. Marriage isn't about love or consent. It's about merging properties and producing heirs. Your wedding takes place outside the church doors, because in medieval Europe, marriage is considered a legal transaction, not a holy sacrament. It's less a romantic union and more a livestock auction with extra steps. You stand there in a stiff linen dress while everyone stares. Your father hands you over like a title deed, and your new husband grins like he just bought a prize cow. The best man stands nearby, and his actual job description is to prevent you from running away during the ceremony. Not kidding. That's why he's there. Then comes the wedding night. You'd think your first night as a married couple would be private? Think again. The wedding guests will be staying to witness the consummation. Nothing says romance like a crowd of drunk spectators. Off to a great start. You're his property now, same as his plow or his horse, except you're expected to cook dinner and bear children. Your new husband makes his expectations clear from day one. Breakfast better be ready next time I wake up, he grunts over his morning meal. And I don't want to see the floor dirty again. He's not cruel by medieval standards, but he treats you like a servant who happens to share his bed. You learn quickly. That burnt bread means going hungry yourself, and that speaking out of turn leaves you explaining to neighbors why you walked into a door. You learn to swallow your words along with your pride, calculating which battles are worth the bruises. There's nowhere to turn for help. You have no legal identity, no right to defend yourself, no escape through divorce. Marriage truly is until death do you part, and given the mortality rates, that might not take as long as you think. The years that follow blur together in a cycle of pregnancy, childbirth with no anesthesia, nursing, and recovering just long enough to get pregnant again. This is your life now. Your body becomes a factory for producing heirs. At 24, your 5th pregnancy nearly destroys you. The labor lasts 2 days, and you lose so much blood that the midwife starts whispering prayers she usually saves for the dying. You can feel your life draining away with each contraction, your vision going dark at the edges. But somehow, impossibly, you survive. And this time, finally, it's a boy. Your husband is thrilled. He celebrates with the neighbors and brags about finally getting an heir out of you. 3 weeks later, he starts coughing. It's just a small cough at first, barely noticeable, but it grows deeper and more frequent. Within a few days, he's struggling to catch his breath between fits. Then comes the blood. Just flecks at first, then alarming red streaks. The fever follows, burning so hot you can feel the heat radiating from his skin whenever you bring him water. For 5 agonizing days, you tend to a man who grows weaker by the hour, his breathing becoming more labored, his skin growing pale and clammy. On the 6th morning, you enter his room with broth to find him still and silent. Suddenly, you're all alone. But for once, not powerless. As a widow who bore a male heir, you inherit everything: the land, the house, the livestock, the debts, and most importantly, your legal independence. This is crucial. Had you only produced daughters before his death, you'd be facing an entirely different fate. Without a male heir, his property would pass to his nearest male relative, leaving you with maybe a third of the estate, and facing forced remarriage within months. The difference between bearing sons and daughters isn't just preference, it's the difference between independence and destitution. For the first time in your life, you can make decisions without asking permission. You teach yourself to read using your late husband's ledgers, and expand your herb garden beyond basic healing plants. Your knowledge grows, along with your confidence, and local women start coming to you first when they're sick. Word continues spreading about your treatments, and your reputation grows. Soon, you're not just the village healer, you're running a profitable business. You hire servants to handle the household work while you focus on your craft. Your house transforms from a humble household into something approaching prosperity. By 35, you've built something extraordinary from nothing. The comforts you can now afford would have seemed impossible in your childhood. Heated baths instead of a freezing river, feather pillows instead of straw, aged wine, soft linens, all earned through your own skill and labor. Your children have shoes that fit, clean clothes when they need them, and enough food that they never go to bed hungry. For the first time in your life, you're genuinely happy. You wake up each morning excited about the day ahead, proud of the work you do, and the independence you've built. And with success comes status. Even the wealthy start choosing you over expensive doctors. Nobles start sending gifts with their orders. Silk from a baron's wife whose headaches you cured. Silver earrings from a merchant's daughter. A leather-bound book from a grateful lord. Not bad for a woman. But prosperity has a price. The local doctors watch your success with growing fury. Their expensive treatments forgotten while villagers flock to your affordable remedies. What started as mild irritation quickly festers into dangerous resentment. They begin spreading whispers. How could an uneducated woman possess such knowledge? Surely no mere mortal could cure what learned physicians cannot. The whispers find fertile ground in the most absurd ways. Your neighbor's chickens wander into your medicinal herb garden and destroy 3 months of careful cultivation, including a patch of hemlock you use for pain relief. You shout curses and shoo them away, furious at the loss. Your neighbor comes running at the commotion, witnessing your rage as you chase his birds from your ruined plants. The next morning, all 12 birds are dead. Your neighbor accuses you of witchcraft, because obviously it couldn't have been the toxic plant they just devoured. The accusation spreads through the village like wildfire. At first, you think people will see reason. After all, these are your neighbors, your patients. But fear is stronger than gratitude. You watch neighbors you've known since childhood avoid your gaze, and something cold settles in your stomach. You can feel the ground shifting beneath your feet. What started as a petty dispute has turned into something far more dangerous. Suddenly, every successful treatment becomes evidence of dark magic. The fever you broke last winter when the blacksmith's son was near death for 3 days? Clearly supernatural. The breech birth you turned with your bare hands, saving both mother and child when everyone expected them to die? Obviously demonic intervention. The trial is a foregone conclusion. The doctors who've been resenting your success eagerly testify against you, claiming that no woman could possess such medical knowledge without diabolic assistance. Local politics play their part too. Your prosperity has made you a convenient target for those who resent a woman rising above her station. The evidence against you is overwhelming. You're an independent woman with medical knowledge. You own property. You've refused to remarry despite multiple suitors, and you've become too successful for your own good. Obviously, you must be in league with Satan. The sentence comes swiftly. At 40, you've gone from respected healer to condemned witch. They tie you to a stake in the village square where you once sold your remedies. The same people who bought your tonics and praised your healing skills now gather to watch you burn. As the flames begin to rise, you scan the crowd and see faces you recognize. Former patients you helped through fevers, difficult births, infected wounds. They watch with a mixture of fascination and horror, some crossing themselves, others turning away. The smoke rises, thick and choking, and in your final moments, you understand how quickly everything you built can turn to ash. That's your life as a medieval woman. You survive childhood, marriage, 5 pregnancies, then get barbecued for being too good at your job. Turns out there was no winning for a married woman in the medieval ages after all.